You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Today we are diving deeper into the clashes between protesters and ICE agents that appear to be escalating on Bay Area streets.
These illegal actions are happening in a very Gestapo-style way.
You cannot get in the way of them doing it if they're proceeding legally in their duties.
We are hearing from an activist who says they're going to use ICE tactics on ICE and what the law says about how far protesters can go. Plus, a push to clear RVs from San Francisco streets moves forward. Today we'll hear from people living in RVs who worry about where they could end up.
You know, they want to take our roof off and put us on the streets to do what?
And he investigates some of the biggest concerns facing local communities. Meet a civil grand juror taking on an important job most people don't even know about.
It's really designed to help policymakers in managing the city to move forward.
Thanks for joining us this Thursday. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to have those stories and lots more right after our news headlines. Back-to-back robberies overnight in Oakland. Just before 2 this morning, a vehicle slammed into this convenience store on Hagenberger Road. The clerk tells us that he heard a loud crash and came out from the back of the store to find a black SUV inside. He believes the suspects were after the ATM. This is the second time this AM/PM store has been targeted. And just a few miles away, a similar scene, another AM/PM hit and an even bigger mess. This is at 106th Avenue and MacArthur Boulevard. It happened at around 3 this morning. We're told the wrecked vehicle used to batter the building was stolen out of San Leandro. No word on any suspect information, and police have not said yet if they believe both incidents are connected. A shooting on northbound 680 in Alamo left one person injured overnight. The CHP says somebody in a dark-colored sedan shot the driver of a black Tesla just before 12:30 this morning. Happened in the area of Stone Valley Road. The driver was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. No word on any arrests. Police believe that the shooting was random. A federal judge has paused President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. The judge in New Hampshire certified a nationwide class action lawsuit and issued a preliminary injunction blocking the president's order. The judge's written order includes a 7-day stay to allow for appeal. Police in Texas say more than 160 people are still missing in Kerr County alone after last Friday's flooding disaster. Authorities have confirmed at least 121 deaths so far, and that number is expected to rise.
The response here in Kerr County continues to expand as the mission becomes more technical. There's more than 2,100 responders on the ground here from state, local, and federal agencies working to reunite victims with families.
The Bay Area is sending crews to help with search and rescue efforts in Texas, and that includes a canine human remains detection team that left for Kerr County out of SFO. They are joining a crew member from Oakland and other members of the California Task Force. All right, let's get a check on our first alert forecast. A little heat wave hitting much of the Bay Area today, but as meteorologist Zoe Mintz explains, our microclimates are in full effect.
It's going to be a beautiful day if you don't mind the heat out there, although I want to show you a gorgeous sunrise above the clouds. There was quite a lot of that fog early this morning, that fog quickly clearing from our inland communities and plenty of sunshine into this afternoon. But something I want to let you all know is it's the full moon tonight, the full buck moon out there. If you want to enjoy it, it's actually going to be really low on the horizon because we're at something called a major lunar standstill, which is actually the lowest path that the moon will take in the sky in nearly 18 years. So tonight is the night to view that full moon, and today is the day to practice heat safety. Temperatures are going to be anywhere from a couple of degrees above average along the coast to upwards of 10 degrees above average across our inland communities. We'll actually be seeing a couple of those high temperatures across the farthest of our inland East Bay communities, getting to near triple digits, places like Antioch and over to Fairfield. Upper 80s to upper 90s for other parts of areas around the bay and inland communities, but then as usual, closer to the coast, it gets cool. cooler. San Francisco will be near 70 degrees this afternoon, and then mid to lower 60s for those places directly on the coast like Half Moon Bay. Keep that in mind outdoors, or for any outdoor plans that you have this afternoon. Heat safety is definitely going to be top of mind. You are going to be seeing that moderate risk for heat-related illness out there this afternoon and into tomorrow afternoon. But those of us who have lived here for quite a while, you're used to this kind of heat in the summertime. It is far from record-breaking territory. It is just one of the warmest days that we've seen so far this summer. Upper 70s for areas around the bay today and into tomorrow, with plenty of sunshine, especially compared to what we normally see this time of year. Inland communities also going to be seeing plenty of sunshine, but cooling down this weekend, which is great news for any outdoor plans.
Well, you might have been noticing trash starting to pile up in some Bay Area neighborhoods. That is because of a national sanitation worker strike. Now, to be clear, Bay Area trash collectors are not formally on strike, but some are choosing to refuse to pick up trash in support of workers in other states. Pickup delays started after workers for the company Republic Services in Stockton went on strike, but now parts of San Mateo and Contra Costa counties, as well as San Jose, Santa Clara, Fremont, and Newark, have all been feeling the impact. We sent our Veronica Macias to Fremont today to see how things are piling up there.
Well, some people didn't know about the situation and were wondering why the heck hasn't my trash been picked up. But you have a total of 11 cities in the Bay Area where their commercial shopping centers might look like this. Look at all that trash that is just piled up here at this dumpster, and just kind of really gross here at Maury Avenue, just to think of how all of this trash is going to be baking later in the sun. Well, we're not seeing those strikes here in the Bay Area, but the end result, kind of the same when they're not picking up trash, right? Trash workers, they're letting it sit as a sign of solidarity for workers who marched off the job with Republic Service in the East Coast and in Stockton. I spoke with a representative from the Teamsters on the East Coast just a few minutes ago, and he tells me workers want better pay, benefits, and protections. They claim that the company is refusing to pay the state rate. Now, we also reached out to Republic Service, and we have not heard back. Yesterday around Fremont here, I found people who were already starting to bring in those trash bins despite not being picked up. And given the uncertainty around how long this work stoppage is going to last, the city of Fremont says they're actively exploring potential service options right now. On their website, they say they're working with Republic Services in an effort to restore service as soon as possible. And this could continue and be a sanitation problem for the next coming days or even the next coming week. So right now, there is free drop-off disposal services. That's over at Fremont Recycling and Transfer Station. That's at 41149 Boyce Road in Fremont. Yesterday, we met a man in Fremont who likes doing his yard work early in the day. He says that he's going to do his best not to accumulate too much trash.
The question is abandoned, that our services would be terminated or just stalled or paused for however long it takes to settle the union disagreement. It piles up quickly. Yeah.
Again, this doesn't only affect people in Fremont. It also impacts people in Half Moon Bay, Richmond, Daly City. So lots of people waking up to seeing all that trash along the side of the streets here. So also Teamsters says, while this is not a strike that was initiated by Teamsters Local 350, our members will continue to honor the picket lines extended into our jurisdiction by Teamsters Local 439, which is over in Stockton. They say that they're engaged in a just fight. So for the time being, this will just remain a very, eyesore and stinky situation in Fremont and other parts of the Bay.
Glamorous job, but somebody's got to do it. Thanks, Veronica. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, a move to ban people from living on the streets in RVs, clearing a major hurdle in San Francisco. We're hearing from a person living in their RV who's worried what will happen to him when he's forced to comply.
That's home. That's home. I feel home. Go to work every day and come back and just sit here. That's my life.
Plus, frustration growing for the families of the victims of the deadly fireworks explosion in Yolo County. We're going to hear from a mother demanding answers.
I'm tired of crying so much I can't even cry anymore, but I just feel like who the hell is responsible for this?
And every year, People from all over California volunteer their time to investigate some of the most pressing issues facing their communities. We're going to meet one East Bay man turning his passion into action.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Today is the day for the big heat up across the bay. It's nothing record-breaking, but it's still about 5 to 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Upper 70s today and into tomorrow. A bit cooler tomorrow afternoon, but still above average through the rest of the work week ahead of us. So if you live inland, this is the place that you're going to want to have to practice heat safety. It's going to be near the triple digits this afternoon, still in the upper 70s tomorrow, cooling down by about 10 degrees into this upcoming weekend with more seasonable heat to come. Keep that in mind and make sure you're safe out there today.
More than 30 construction workers in Southern California are safe after a tunnel they were building caved in. Scary moments happened last night in Los Angeles County near Long Beach. Authorities say the workers were about 400 feet underground at the time. Thankfully, there was space amid all the debris for everyone to get out with the help of a crane. It took nearly an hour for them all to be rescued. The Los Angeles Fire Department says the workers had to climb a 12 to 15-foot pile of dirt to escape.
I live down the street. I ran over here and I asked the police, please let me through. And my husband's in there and I just want to know if he's okay. Then as I'm sitting here waiting for him, he called and he said he's out and everything's going to be okay. So I got to hear from him.
Now, the tunnel being built is supposed to carry treated wastewater to the Pacific Ocean, but right now all work is suspended. It's been more than a week since that deadly explosion at a fireworks storage facility in Yolo County, and we're still waiting for the county coroner's office to positively identify the remains of all 7 people who are believed to be dead. The families of those lost in the explosion are frustrated and waiting for answers. The mother of one of them shared some strong words for both the fireworks company and state officials. Here's reporter Ashley Sharp.
I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling very angry that those people don't think of my son like a person. They didn't care that his body blew up. They didn't care. They didn't care about it. They didn't care. They didn't care.
In the days since her son's death, Lupe Melendez-Mendoza says sadness has turned to frustration after an explosion at a fireworks warehouse in Esparto killed 7 workers, 28-year-old Junior Melendez included.
He was the sunshine of my life.
Junior was working to support his wife Maria and growing family. One son, just a baby, with another on the way.
I am tired of crying so much I can't even cry anymore, but I just feel like who the hell is responsible for this? Who's responsible for this?
I took that question to the state fire marshal Tuesday night, the lead in the investigation.
We really can't provide play-by-play details because we've got to piece everything back together. We've got to build a case that we can bring to a district attorney, bring to the courts so that, that we can adjudicate this case and, again, hold anybody, if there was a violation, responsible.
Junior's uncle says their family has obtained evidence showing what they believe proves the warehouse was unsafe and the explosives not stored properly, working now on legal action.
This needs to be opened up. There's too much silence.
Pointing the finger at county officials because Lupe says her son believed he was safe at work.
He said, Mom, don't worry about it. How can it go wrong? There's a cop and there's a firefighter. We trust them.
As CBS 13 has reported, the company Devastating Pyrotechnics did not have a local permit to store fireworks at this facility, the land only zoned for agriculture. And yet, a Yolo County Sheriff's lieutenant owned the property, and an Esparto volunteer firefighter also worked there.
But they were there for a long, long time. It's not like this is a brand new thing and they didn't know these people. They knew them. They were probably on a first name basis. How can they not have a perspective on what was going on at that facility? And how could they let this happen? These are kids that got blown to bits. It's ridiculous.
The state fire marshal says a search warrant was executed at the San Francisco home of Kenny Chi, the CEO and owner of Devastating Pyrotechnics. That's the company operating the facility that exploded in Esparto. The fire marshal would not say what they were looking for, but Chi's attorneys released a statement saying that his client is innocent of any wrongdoing in connection with the fire. A 78-year-old cyclist has died after crashing his e-bike in Santa Cruz County. The CHP says that the cyclist went off the road and crashed into a dirt embankment. That happened near Manfrey Road at around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. Authorities still looking into what led to that crash. We are learning more now about a deadly shooting last week in Fremont. Police say the suspect told them that he's known the victim for years and that he killed his friend in self-defense. The shooting happened July 1st in the area of North Point Loop West. The suspect, 56-year-old Greg White, told police that they started arguing, and the victim threatened him with a sharpened copper pipe and tried to carjack him. White says that he shot that man after he came toward him with a pipe. Police placed White under arrest for murder. A massive encampment at Alamo Park in Berkeley is gone after years of complaints from neighbors and park visitors about the crowd, the mess, and the drug use. Berkeley police and city workers began moving campers out of the park early yesterday morning. And that sweep comes after a bitter, months-long political and legal battle. Nearly everyone who lived at the camp left by the time crews moved in. But some worry that the encampment has only moved on.
It seems like it's a whack-a-mole kind of deal. They'll sweep one encampment, and then within 3 weeks, there's a bigger one just down the road. I would think Berkeley would be better at supporting its unhoused population than it has been.
We reached out to the city of Berkeley to ask what they might be doing to prevent an encampment from coming back to the park, but we have not yet heard back. A move to ban people from living on the streets in RVs has cleared a major hurdle in San Francisco. The ordinance would put a 2-hour parking limit on oversized vehicles on city streets. City leaders insist the ban is for the benefit of those living in their vehicles. But our Andrea Nakano talked to one person living in their RV who's worried about what comes next.
Hamilton has parked his RV in a spot near Lake Merced for the last 2 years.
That's home. That's home. I feel home.
He used to share an apartment with a roommate, but says he lost everything after a fire. He worked hard to rebuild his life and put a lot of time fixing up this RV.
It's just like a studio. So it could be old outside, but inside is just, comfy.
He has a bathroom, kitchen, and a living area with everything he needs.
I got an Xbox, I got the TV, and just that broken one that I got the stereo system.
He says living in an RV gives him independence without relying on government services. He's worried about what will happen to him when he's forced to comply with a 2-hour limit on RV parking in the city. According to the Coalition on Homelessness, there are roughly 430 RV households and only 65 family housing subsidies.
I got my roof. So, they want to take our roof off and put us on the street to do what?
Mayor Daniel Lurie says this ban combines compassion with accountability. District 7 Supervisor Myrna Malgar was a co-sponsor of the legislation.
I do not believe that in a progressive city with the resources that we have, looking the other way while people living in the public right-of-way, which we maintain, by the way, without services, without sewer, without water, without electricity, without garbage is a humane thing.
Hamilton, though, says he does his part to encourage his RV neighbors to keep the area clean. While this situation isn't perfect, it's the only place he can afford to call home.
Go to work every day and come back and just sit here. That's my life.
Still ahead, we are going to meet a man from Alameda County working behind the scenes to make his community a better place. And the pay, not that great.
The $15, I guess, might buy you lunch somewhere. But yeah, it's really, you do it because you want to volunteer and make a difference.
We're going to talk with him about his time on the civil grand jury, a low-key process with a big impact.
Winds are going to stay between 25 and 30 miles an hour. Nothing too impressive, so it's not going to cool you down this afternoon. So those inland areas, again, there is that moderate risk for heat-related illness. It's not high for this time of year, as we're about 10 to 15 degrees shy of record-breaking territory. If you're used to the heat inland, honestly, it's not going to feel too crazy out there this afternoon. But if you're not used to the heat, which most of us aren't because we haven't felt it in quite a while, keep that in mind. High pressure is the reason that we are going to continue to see the heat up today and into tomorrow, but stronger winds in an area of low pressure that's going to sit offshore and usher in a bit more cloud coverage will bring back seasonable temperatures by the upcoming weekend. So weekend plans, you definitely should be more comfortable than today and tomorrow. And if you have any outdoor plans, if you live across our inland areas today and tomorrow, please be safe. Please drink a lot of water. Again, sunscreen will be necessary for everybody, even along the coast. If you do live along the coast, enjoy the sunshine through Saturday because those where's the sky July conditions return as soon as Sunday. Back to you.
San Mateo County still has not done enough to prepare for natural disasters. That is the conclusion from a new report from the civil grand jury. The water supply is apparently especially vulnerable. They found that water providers in the county have not conducted adequate emergency drills. Plus, backup fuel and water reserves fall short of what would be needed in a potential crisis. Every year, counties across California release civil grand jury reports like that, highlighting the biggest concerns facing local communities and governments. The findings are always newsworthy, but who exactly are these people and how do they reach their conclusions? Kevin Coe introduces us to a man in Alameda County who's taking on an important job most people don't even know about.
Longtime resident Adam Cohen cares more about Oakland than most will ever know by spending his time on a civil grand jury.
Most people don't even know it exists. I mean, we publish a report, it's important, the agencies respond to it. I mean, there's a statutory requirement for them to respond, but your average citizen doesn't read it.
On most days, Cohen is a retired executive living in Oakland, but for several hours every week, he's the top officer managing 18 other Alameda County citizen watchdogs, also known as civil grand jurors. When called in, they're paid $15 a day.
You know, the $15, I guess, might buy you lunch somewhere, but yeah, it's really, you do it because you want to volunteer and make a difference.
Doing so means committing time and loyalty. Jurors are sworn to secrecy as they investigate countywide complaints about public agencies from citizens and whistleblowers.
Once we get those complaints, we basically investigate those entities for a year, and the witnesses that we see are agency heads, elected officials, people that filed the complaints, so a whole range of witnesses that kind of tell the story of the complaint.
A year's worth of that work leads to this grand jury report. Agencies are legally required to respond to findings and recommendations within 90 days. This process happens across all of California's 58 counties.
Grand juries generally serve as a buffer between a prosecutor's office and the public.
However, this year's Alameda County grand jury report specifically provides that buffer in Oakland, with almost the entire report focusing on the town.
We had a high number of complaints, and the jury found that that was really the place to focus. It's really designed to help policymakers in managing the city to move forward. So that's really the reason that I'm involved in it, and it's been a great honor to be involved.
This was Cohen's last year serving as a grand juror. The group's data shows almost a 50% drop in applicants over the past year. It's unclear who will take his important and thankless job.
Cohen also hopes for more diversity across jurors, including more representation and focus in some areas he says that are overlooked, like the Tri-Valley and Fremont. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, we have been seeing more clashes with ICE agents as deportation efforts ramp up. We're going to take a deeper dive into the escalating tension on Bay Area streets.
It's almost, always at the hands of, law enforcement or ICE.
People are putting themselves in harm's way. There is no need to do that.
Plus, the wrecking ball demolished this downtown 60 years ago. And now there's a new plan to rebuild the hearts of a South Bay city.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at some of our news headlines. Back-to-back robberies overnight in Oakland. Just before 2 this morning, a vehicle slammed into a convenience store on Hagenberger Road. The clerk believes the suspects were after the ATM. And just a few miles away, a similar scene that happened at around 3 this morning. We're told the wrecked vehicle used to batter the building was stolen out of San Leandro. No word on any suspect information, and police have not said yet if the two crimes are connected. A shooting northbound 680 in Alamo overnight left one person injured. The CHP says someone in a dark-colored sedan shot the driver of a black Tesla just before 12:30 this morning. This was in the area of Stone Valley Road. The driver was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. No word yet on any arrests, but police do believe that the shooting was at random. And a federal judge has paused President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship. The judge in New Hampshire certified a nationwide class action lawsuit and issued a preliminary injunction blocking the president's order. The judge's written order includes a 7-day stay to allow for appeal. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast this Thursday. Weekend right around the corner. Here's meteorologist Zoe Mintz.
It's going to be a beautiful day if you don't mind the heat out there, although I want to show you a gorgeous sunrise above the clouds. There was quite a lot of that fog early this morning, that fog quickly clearing from our inland communities and plenty of sunshine into this afternoon. But something I want to let you all know is it's the full moon tonight, the full buck moon out there. If you want to enjoy it, it's actually going to be really low on the horizon because we're at something called a major lunar standstill, which is actually the lowest path that the moon will take in the sky in nearly 18 years. So tonight is the night to view that full moon, and today is the day to practice heat safety. Temperatures are going to be anywhere from a couple of degrees above average along the coast to upwards of 10 degrees above average across our inland communities. We'll actually be seeing a couple of those high temperatures across the farthest of our inland East Bay communities, getting to near triple digits, places like Antioch and over to Fairfield. Upper 80s to upper 90s for other parts of areas around the bay and inland communities, but then as usual, closer to the coast, it gets cooler. San Francisco will be near 70 degrees this afternoon, and then mid to lower 60s for those places directly on the coast like Half Moon Bay. Keep that in mind outdoors, or for any outdoor plans that you have this afternoon. Heat safety is definitely going to be top of mind. You are going to be seeing that moderate risk for heat-related illness out there this afternoon and into tomorrow afternoon. But those of us who have lived here for quite a while, you're used to this kind of heat in the summertime. It is far from record-breaking territory. It is just one of the warmest days that we've seen so far this summer. Upper 70s for areas around the bay today and into tomorrow with plenty of sunshine, especially compared to what we normally see this time of year. Inland communities also going to be seeing plenty of sunshine, but cooling down this weekend, which is great news for any outdoor plans.
Well, things have been getting tense on the streets as ICE ramps up deportations around the Bay Area. We've spent the last several weeks compiling video of protesters and ICE agents squaring off. Started off with words, but increasingly things have been getting physical. Case in point, pushing and shoving outside an immigration court in San Francisco. It led to this, protesters clinging to the hood of an ICE van as it ended up speeding away. And it's not the first time we've seen things turn ugly on Bay Area streets. From the streets of San Francisco to Concord, protesters are getting more confrontational as ICE agents carry out an unprecedented immigration crackdown. Well, there are a lot of layers to this, and when it comes to the escalating scenarios between ICE and protesters, legal experts say it is a very fine line. Our Max Darrow has been looking into all of this. He spoke with one activist who explains their tactics.
Stop! With tensions high for several weeks, we've been documenting encounters between ICE agents and protesters outside of Bay Area immigration courthouses as the federal agents take immigrants into custody. The first on June 10th, outside of an immigration court in Concord. Protesters confronted plainclothed ICE agents as they brought a man into custody. The woman in the pink hat tries to block the agents from getting through. Federal agents pushed protesters aside to clear a path to their vehicle. After the vehicle drove away, scuffles between protesters and federal agents continued for several minutes, with one protester slapping a federal agent. On June 24th in the financial district in San Francisco, protesters confront federal agents once again. It begins tense but peaceful with a lot of yelling. But moments later, protesters try to block federal vehicles. Federal agents physically move them out of the way to get their car through, and more struggles ensue in the moments after. On June 26th, a similar scene breaks out once again, but this one escalates further. A few protesters begin to climb onto a federal vehicle as it tries to drive away. The car starts to speed up, and the protesters decide to get off. And on July 8th, this video, captured from a neighbor's window in San Francisco. First, a scuffle at the front door of the courthouse, and then a large group of protesters tried to stop a federal vehicle from driving away by climbing on the hood of the vehicle. A few of them held on, despite the driver accelerating down Montgomery Street, appearing to swerve to get them off the vehicle.
It took a man, probably like 30s, early 40s, and shoved him into a car while they were beating everyone back with their batons. Everyone kind of got in front of the car, and ICE ran over, tried to run over everyone.
ICE, however, says that's not how it happened, telling CBS News Bay Area, on July 8th, protesters violently attacked and obstructed federal ICE officers who were simply doing their job by enforcing our nation's laws. But protesters say ICE shouldn't be carrying out these operations in the first place.
These illegal actions are happening in a very Gestapo-style way. So
I spoke with an activist who goes by HR.
We're hoping, honestly, to document and hope that that documentation can go towards creating cases that support them in the future, because a lot of what's happening right now shouldn't be happening.
Another objective.
The goal is to prevent abductions.
We asked about the clashes turning physical. HR points towards law enforcement.
Which is almost, always at the hands of, law enforcement or ICE.
We also sought out perspective from law enforcement. Former federal agent Jeff Harp points towards protesters crossing a line first.
They can't interfere with a lawful action. And I think that's where we've seen some of this go south. People are putting themselves in harm's way. There is no need to do that.
Attorney Shannon Dugan says protesters have every right to be there, but they can't obstruct the operation.
You can protest what the federal officers are doing or what the ICE officers are doing, but you cannot get in the way of them doing it if they're proceeding legally in their duties.
And by the letter of the law, she says there's a difference between engaging in protest and civil disobedience.
If you're sitting in front of a van carrying somebody who's undocumented that the federal government has lawfully picked up, then you are impeding the duties of a federal officer, and you can be charged in federal court.
HR insists what has unfolded has been peaceful protesting, and the federal agents are the ones escalating the situations.
I mean, the hope is that through peacefully protesting, we won't get hurt, but that's still happening. So.
They do not advocate for violence against federal agents. However,
I think the same tactics that ICE and police use should be used against them.
Then what does that mean?
It could mean whatever they're doing at the protest. If they're kettling protesters, then police too should get kettled.
Kettling refers to a law enforcement crowd control tactic to corral demonstrators within a limited area.
You can yell, you can scream, you can call somebody a name. First Amendment right is speech, not physical altercation.
The last sliver of whatever is left of humanity is what we're trying to protect. We don't want people to get hurt. We don't want them to be ripped from their families. We don't want to see our neighbors being taken to deportation centers that are well past their max capacity in cramped rooms.
Well, HR tells Max that there are many efforts to help immigrants that we don't see on camera. They say their efforts are much more than these very public confrontations. Regardless of political party, most people seem to be worried about the prospect of political violence in the U.S. A recent NPR and PBS News poll found that nearly 3/4 of Americans, 73%, think politically motivated violence is a major problem, and only 4% said it's not a problem at all. So to sort through all this, we spoke with Dr. Garen Winnemute. He is an emergency room doctor at UC Davis Health, and he's the director of UC Davis Violence Prevention Research Program. We asked him about the public perception of these viral clashes.
So it builds hostility by pitting one extreme against another and not telling the story of the vast majority of us in the middle who reject political violence, or are unwilling to engage in it. We need to create space in our public discourse for the simple fact that Americans overwhelmingly reject violence. Some of us don't, fair enough. The majority of us can move ahead in ways that will prevent violence now and in the future.
Now, he went on to say, if you see or hear someone say that they're going to commit an act of violence, to contact authorities. Coming up next, people in Santa Clara were promised a redeveloped downtown, but the project has gone quiet for decades. We'll introduce you to an activist taking up the fight for her neighbors.
Shame, shame, shame on the damn city. That's what I say, because it's what the public wants.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Today is the day for the big heat up across the bay. It's nothing record-breaking, but it's still about 5 to 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Upper 70s today and into tomorrow. A bit cooler tomorrow afternoon, but still above average through the rest of the work week ahead of us. So if you live inland, this is the place that you're going to want to have to practice heat safety. It's going to be near the triple digits this afternoon, still in the upper 70s tomorrow, cooling down by about 10 degrees into this upcoming weekend with more seasonable heat to come. Keep that in mind and make sure you're safe out there today.
Well, with much of the Bay Area's development effort focused on affordable housing, some people in Santa Clara County say that their plans for a new downtown are being ignored. The city knocked down most of its core buildings 60 years ago, but nothing has been done since. And as John Ramos reports, one woman is on a mission to get things going.
In the 1960s, with the space race capturing people's imaginations, modern design was all the rage. So like a lot of cities, Santa Clara decided out with the old and in with the new. So they demolished almost their entire downtown. But then the project just stopped. And some say it sacrificed the city's identity as a result. It was 1964 when they began tearing down downtown Santa Clara, transforming what had been, for generations, a quaint city center into the dream of a modern futuristic utopia. But at some point, the dream ended, and the city forgot about its grand vision.
They spent the money in buying other properties with the redevelopment money and never rebuilt the downtown.
Now the main street looks like any other street, and this archway is the only thing marking the existence of the city. A few mission-style buildings were constructed, which are in pretty bad shape now, and the plaza's fountain has been dry for years. But mainly, there are empty parking lots. Lots of parking lots. But even if the city has forgotten its promise, Mary Grizzle hasn't.
I've been after this for 10 years, most recently, 10 years I've been fighting this, and now we're tired of waiting. Our people are tired of waiting. We want a downtown.
And she hates the globe sculpture that was placed at the entrance to the plaza for what it seems to symbolize.
Why would they put the wrecking ball in the downtown? As a reminder to the old folks?
So she helped found a citizens group to get officials to focus on the city center. They say the lack of a discernible downtown has left Santa Clara without an identity for the outside world.
They go, what? Is that your downtown? I go, yeah. What happened?
Grizzle has her own vision for development, and in 2023 the city adopted a new general plan for the area. But since then, nothing has happened. However, a lot of activity has occurred near Levi's Stadium and Great America, including a huge new project with signs saying coming soon. The advocates think revitalizing downtown has been put on hold.
The project, that is in the Great America area, they want to see that one, go forward, whereas the downtown takes a back seat. And that is, not good, for the community.
There's no reason we can't work on North Santa Clara and downtown at the same time.
The city responded with a statement saying the downtown plan was still a priority, but tough economic conditions are slowing the process. They say no private developers have come forward with any proposals so far. For Mary, it's been 10 years of frustration, and now, at age 83, she's not in the mood for people to tell her to be patient.
I think it's doable. The city, shame, shame, shame on the damn city. That's what I say, because it's what the public wants. The public wants this more than anything. We got screwed with the original downtown, and they want to screw us again. And I'm not bending over twice. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
The city is sticking to its story too, so the wait will continue. And in the meantime, if anyone does have a reason to come to downtown, at least they won't have trouble finding a place to park.
Well, if the plan ever gets built, the new plan would be to add books on more than 1,000 new housing units and 700,000 feet of commercial space. The Golden State Valkyries hoping to keep up their winning ways after beating Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever. The star of the show was Valkyries point guard Veronica Burton. She set a new career high in three-pointers and notched her 100th career steal. That helped limit Caitlin Clark, who was returning from injury, to just 10 points. Final score 80-61. The Valkyries going to try to keep that momentum going on Saturday when they take on the Aces in Las Vegas. You can see that game on KPIX and streaming on Paramount Plus. Our coverage starts at 1 p.m. Coming up, food insecurity can become an even bigger problem for children when school is not in session. We're going to meet the Bay Area students working to reduce hunger with the help of the school district's first ever chef.
And these are also the fields that I want to dig into when I'm in college.
With food insecurity impacting a lot of families during summer break, a student-led effort in San Francisco is looking to change that. Lorena Ayub introduces us to the student interns getting hands-on experience while also helping families in need.
Right in the heart of the city, a school farm is bringing SFUSD student interns together to learn about harvesting. Located at the Academy at McAteer Community Farm, students like Anli Lee are learning the ins and outs of sustainable agriculture.
I wanted to learn more about nutrition and health, and these are also the fields that I want to dig into when I'm in college.
While learning to harvest kale, the 17-year-old who moved to the U.S. from China at age 11 says she became interested in nutrition after facing unexpected health challenges.
Last year, I went to my physical check, and finally my doctor told me that I got high blood sugar, which is pre-diabetes, and that's when I started to focus on looking at the nutrition facts on the package of the snacks, and the foods.
With help from Josh Davidson, chef at McAteer Kitchen, students are not only learning to use fresh produce in meals, they're also helping prepare them as part of San Francisco's free summer meals program for youth and families.
San Francisco has been making major strides in the last few years. The voters approved a bond in 2024 that's going to allow us to build a new central kitchen that will allow us to source a lot of local organic produce from Northern California. In addition, in the meantime, we've been making changes to the school meal program to highlight fresh food.
And students are learning how to prepare that food from farm to cafeteria, free of charge. Anli says for her, the program is not just eye-opening, but life-changing for her health and future.
There are more than 40 SFUSD free summer meal sites running across the city. They offer one free breakfast and one free lunch to all kids 18 and younger. Well, you might have seen these gremlin-looking creatures used as accessories on handbags or belt loops. They're called Labubu dolls, and they're getting pretty popular with customers of all ages. The dolls and many others like them are mainly sold at a popular Chinese toy store called Mart, and now one is opening in San Francisco's Union Square. It's on the corner of Powell and O'Farrell. Some people say they're excited for the new store, while others say they don't really get the appeal.
I'm excited.
Why?
Because I'm thinking to get one, but it's very hard to find it.
It'd be great for like a few months or a little while, but then at some point it's gonna not be cool to like have a weird kind of stuffed animal on your designer bag, and people are gonna be like, okay, I'm over that, and then what are they gonna do?
Pop Mart also has locations at the Stonestown Galleria in San Francisco and Valley Fair Mall in San Jose. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.